So we do have Kit Loferski, former Gators soccer player, and she is playing now in Finland here on Fire Breathing Rob. Kit, thanks so much for coming on today.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So first of all, can you tell the audience how Finland is? Is it hot right now? What's going on there right now?
Summer has actually finally broken free. When I first got here, I got here in January.
Right.
So that was a bit of a shock for me, especially growing up in Florida, majority of my life. Summertime, year round, all the time. Sun is always shining, and I get here and it's blizzarding and snow. We would get between 8 and 9 inches of snow, and it was crazy. And it was fun for the first couple of weeks, and then I had to shovel my driveway for the first time, and then I was like, I don't really know if snow is really my thing. But yeah, it's Finland's great. The people here are exceptionally kind. Everybody seems to be in happy spirits, even during the winter too. Like I'd always hear though, like, just keep waiting for summer, and the summer is everything that it was talked up to be. It is absolutely beautiful here during the summertime. But yeah, across the board, I'm having a really good experience with my first pro season. I feel like I really lucked out because I've definitely heard of horror stories from past teammates, friends from other teams, going overseas for the first time. And, it's definitely different than the NWSL and, all the funding that goes into NWSL and et cetera, et cetera. So I really lucked out with a great program overall. So, yeah.
How is it different from playing under Becky's style with that possession type atmosphere to the style you're playing in Finland now? Is it the same? Is it more about pace? What is it?
I definitely say over here it's a combination of both. It also really just heavily depends on, your squad and what each person can bring to the table, individual strengths. My own strength would be my speed and my athleticism. So, we kind of have adapted around things regarding my style of play. But the girls here, like originally from Finland, are very much possession-based, tactical, like very analytical players. So that's been really nice to be around again, because with Becky, like it felt like we were playing soccer, like it wasn't just kick the ball, run after it and hope for the best type of thing. Like we like to keep the ball. We like to possess. My coach, Steve Beeks, is always saying, enjoy having the ball, enjoy having it, and find your moments to exploit the opponents and whatnot. So it's definitely a combination of both. And again, it just goes back to each individual strength that a player can bring. So.
Right. So let's talk about, how did that opportunity come about to play in Finland, Kit?
Well, at the end of my year, or at the end of my season last year, I wasn't really sure if I really wanted to play. I just kind of was like, maybe I will, maybe I won't. I literally had plans to go move out west and work on a ranch. Like that was like kind of what I was gonna do. And then I was like halfway through the season, I was like, okay, maybe I'll think about it. By the end, I was like really unsure. But then I took those 2 weeks and I was like, yeah, I think I really want to play. So I just kind of threw my name out there with the help of my agent, Brad Senar, who's been amazing. So, he just put my name out. We put together, a film compilation, and he put my name out there to his contacts, and Steve took a hold of it. And it was just a funny coincidence that my ex-teammate, so Sarah Tricoli, who was who I played with for probably, I think it was 3 years, and she became one of my best friends too. It was just a funny coincidence that it was Steve Beeks who picked up my name, and we ended up being able to play again together, which has been really, really nice, and it made the transition over here that much easier for me, because she's already been established in the team and that kind of thing. But it's also been really nice because the years that I was with Sarah, we call her Mish. So if I say Mish, that's who I
You're good.
When I was playing with Mish over at Florida, like I was hurt 2 of the years with knee injuries. So I didn't really get the full chance to like really play with some of the people that I'm closest with. So now it's kind of like, karma, she's just paying it back a little bit.
Right.
So.
Well, that's great. And so we didn't really talk about, so obviously the season has started. You told me that while we were messaging back and forth. Can you talk about the team? What is the team name as far as that goes? So people, if they want to look you up, follow you, if, I don't know if you guys have games on YouTube or if there's a website where we can watch you
Right.
guys. Talk about that and how the season's going so far.
Yeah. Okay. So I play for Åland United. We're located in the Åland Islands, which is like this little island right in between Sweden and Finland, which makes for interesting travel schedules, that's for sure. But yeah, the team has, I mean, I keep saying this, but it's like I really lucked out with the team. They're a great bunch of girls, high quality, like very much skilled players. You know, we have some Finnish national team players on the squad. Like the age ranges from like, I think our youngest player is 15 to our oldest player, which is like 35 or something like that. So it's a very, very wide range of ages and people coming from all over the world, which has been really, really cool. In terms of games, I mean, everything's in Finnish over here. So everything is broadcasted on what's called Ruutu, Ruutu. But the whole broadcast is in Finnish. So, I mean, if people want to look into that, you're more than welcome to. You're not going to hear really
Get the
much
subtitles.
yeah, I wish. But every so often you'll hear a name, like it'll be like Kit Loferski or Sarah Tricoli, and you're like, okay, so we know who they're talking about at least. So, yeah.
How is the language barrier in Finnish to English? To a lot of the girls, because English is kind of the universal language of the world in general. Do a lot of the girls kind of speak somewhat of English, even though it might not be the best grammar, but it's good enough that you guys can play together?
Yeah, there's basically really no language barrier.
Oh, great.
All the girls speak English very, very well. The Finnish people are very reluctant in speaking English sometimes just because they feel like they're not really good at it. So my teammates have been like, sometimes we're a little bit nervous, but I'm like, you guys sound perfectly fine. Like I can understand everything that you guys are saying. I don't know what that is. Oh, I don't know what that's about. But on Åland specifically, so the primary language on Åland is actually Swedish. So very, very seldom do I hear anybody speaking Finnish. It's more so Swedish. And we were, for a little while, we were taking some Swedish lessons, and that can only go so far, learning the absolute basics and then throwing into language and whatnot. But in terms of the language barrier, there really hasn't been any, and everybody's super friendly. So if they start speaking in a language that I personally cannot understand, I'll just be like, hey, sorry, I speak English. And they're like, oh yeah, no worry. Don't worry about it. I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's good. Because I know Sarah was there, and obviously she's been there for a couple of years now, so she kind of knows the gist of what's going on. But it's nice that you're going in with her, but also everybody's kind of adjusting to you and they can speak English, and you're not just, because that can be pretty traumatic going overseas to a new country, not knowing anybody, not knowing the language, and people can take advantage pretty easily.
Yes, that is absolutely true. And that's kind of like the basis of the root foundation of those horror stories that I was talking about earlier. Those international travels, you don't know the language, don't know anybody, and it's just kind of like you're stuck by yourself and you just kind of have to do what you got to do. So, and that was actually kind of like a part of my decision, the decision process and which team I was going to pick in terms of my first year professionally. Like the language barrier it is a big deal. It is a big contributing factor in a lot of decisions regarding people who only speak one language. But it's also, brought really, really great opportunities, and I've picked up things through my teammates in Finnish and Swedish, like all kinds of stuff. So it's like, it's really, really a very cool experience getting to learn new languages and different cultures and that sort of thing. So yeah.
Kit Loferski here on Fire Breathing Rob. Kit, I want to talk about this. You're playing over there for about 5.5 months now, playing there. And I know you said the team has come to embrace you. Obviously, we went through, Sarah's already there, and she's had that camaraderie already with the team for quite a few years now. But with that said, how are the fans, the Finnish fans, I'm struggling to say friggin' words, but the Finnish fans, how are they adapting to you, as an American? Do they just bring you in? Is it different kind of soccer as far as an experience there from playing at Florida? I know the Florida games were pretty packed, especially the first 3 years you were there with Becky there, and the winning ways of Florida Gators soccer for so many years with Becky. Is it different, there? Is there more fans? Is it more excitement than playing at Florida under Becky?
I mean, it's everywhere is going to be different.
Sure.
I don't think there's really going to be anything that really kind of compares to that feeling of, putting on that Gator uniform. And again, it just goes back to the camaraderie of what UF brings type of things. So, but here, we get a solid group of fans. The world of female football is on the come up too, so it's like we get a solid group of people that are coming out watching our games. We do have quote unquote loyal fans that come to just about everything. I think there's definitely an emphasis more so over the last few years of advertising for our games, at least from my understanding and meetings that we've had about this and whatnot. So there have been more and more fans over the years coming, and you can always be better about stuff like that, so but the fans themselves everybody here is so nice. I can't stress that enough. They're so welcoming, and they're just really very, very friendly people. So
well, then you're in the right spot, because people are getting, and I won't put this in the interview, but between us, people are going crazy in America with gas and all kinds of food. And I mean, I'm sure you've heard the stories with your.
It's very low key here right now, even with Finland joining NATO and everything. That's not really been a topic of conversation at all. At first I was like, should we be concerned about this, because of everything that I've been seeing on social media. All of my social media is based in the United States. That's where all of my feed comes from. But everybody here is like, yeah, we'll be fine. So I'm like, okay, I trust you guys.
Maybe we all need to move over there and take a break from all this nonsense over
Exactly.
Okay. So I want to go into kind of the second out of three parts of this interview and speak about Becky. Before the interview started, we talked about, obviously winning that championship before you and I were obviously at Florida in '98. Winning that championship. Abby Wambach, Danielle was there, and she's obviously good friends with the new coach there. We'll talk about that in a minute also. And really great teams under Becky, and we named some of the people throughout the interview. Playing under her in Vic, who is a character, and you can go into these stories in just a second, but playing under these two great professionals, winning ways for over 30, I believe it was 35 years. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. At University of Florida, it was close to 30 something.
I don't know exactly the number, but
I'm not that far off. I know that because I know she was there right out of college. She kind of came over there.
I think it was 26 or 27 seasons, I want to say, at Florida.
Yeah, it sounds about right. I know. There. Yeah, coaching at, I believe it was Barry, and then going to UF and starting the program from nothing into winning ways. So anyway, we gave her the drum up here, so we'll move forward. So what was it? What was it like playing under these two great coaches?
Becky she created a monarchy. She was the person to play under, and that really just comes from one, her coaching philosophies, which are just her career speaks for itself, but also the emphasis of person over player is something that she really lived by, and something that she built her team environment around. And that was something that I know a lot of the players, myself included, really clung to, mainly because it was somebody as successful, somebody as influential, somebody as strong as Becky Burley, she really cares about us. She really cares about the girls that she brings in under her wing, will take care of them in any way that she can. And And it's always more than just the game itself, because, you know, eventually soccer's going to end. And during college, you know, like those are very, very fragile, malleable years of your life. You learn a lot in college, and being able to have somebody like Becky, like Alan, like Vic, people to look up to, that, you know, all kind of collectively have the same, you know, pillars of what a team should be, and really teaching you a lot about how to play the game really well, but also how to be the best person that you can be. So that was something that was really just, it was a pretty profound for a lot of people. So
obviously, growing up in St. Augustine, I mean, you're not that far from the University of Florida. You know, can you talk about the experience of getting recruited? What made you want to choose Florida? Was it that coaching staff of great individuals, or was it something else? Were you always like a Gator fan? What was it?
right. So that's a great question, but it was a combination of factors, I would say.
Mhm.
You know, I wanted a high level soccer program. I wanted, you know, the most out of my educational experience as well.
Mhm.
Being far from home wasn't necessarily like I wasn't
You weren't against it.
too, yeah, exactly. I wasn't against being super far away, but I also wasn't against being close to home type of thing.
Right.
It turned out that like being close to home was actually pretty nice, you know, because like if I had a stressful week or something and I
Drive.
just wanted to go home, I wanted to have a home cooked meal, I could do that. So it was really nice. But yeah, in terms of the recruiting process, which was feels like forever ago.
Mm, right.
I went to originally I was, you know, like I was bouncing around colleges, kind of getting a feel for my options and that kind of thing. And I really UF was not even remotely on my radar. You know, there was one school and I was like, this is where I want to go. I want to go here. Like, I'm not changing my mind. And my parents sat me down and they were like, you know, I think you should really consider trying Florida. Like just go to a camp, see what it's like, and then go from there type of thing. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Being a 15, 16-year-old girl, like, my
Right.
parents know best,
What was
whatever.
this, if I can ask, what was the school you were looking at that you wanted to go to?
It was FSU, actually.
What was it? I'm sorry.
FSU, Florida
Oh,
State.
FSU. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
Rivals. Yeah. Okay.
what? Yeah, rivals, exactly.
Okay.
But so I end up going to a camp at Florida, one of those ID camps, and
Mhm.
you know, it was a pretty simple decision for me there. You know, it was just, not to say that obviously, you know, FSU is a top program in and of itself as well, you know, but it just felt more like somewhere that I could fit in just a little bit more is all, really. Just based off, you know, where I was at in terms of like my soccer career and like where I was going and that kind of thing. And yeah, so, you know, I feel like I ended up making the right decision. Every so often, you know, like after games against FSU, I'd go up to Mark Corey and I'd be like, hey, and he's like, hey kid, how are you doing? You know, like it was all very, very professional, that kind of thing. No hard feelings whatsoever. And, you know, I wouldn't change my decision for the world.
Can you bring up any funny stories throughout your time at Florida playing under these great coaches?
I mean, I have plenty of them.
Okay. Give us one or two.
A lot of them do come from Vic. Like he has,
He's a
like,
character.
the man knows soccer like the back of his hand. He is truly one of the smartest coaches I've ever played under. But he would say some of the most like we'd be at practice one day or something like that, and he, you know, Florida and the insects and the gnats and the no-see-ums, and they really get to be really bothersome, especially during the summer. And he'd randomly come up to us every so often, and he'd just be like, "Hey, you know how you get rid of these guys?" And we're like, "Oh, great, what's about to come out of your mouth?" And he's like, all you got to do is you tie a dragonfly to a string, and you let them loose." And I'm like, why would we do that? But then on the other hand, it's like, then he throws us into these, he was really big on you know, like neural activation and, you know, keeping your brain working while also playing soccer. And he would throw us into these really, really chaotic drills of doing math problems while juggling, while doing this, while doing that.
Jeez.
Other times he had these goggles that he really, really loved. They were these goggles that you would put on and they would flash. So like you could change the time on them. So every like 1 second you'd go dark. You wouldn't be able to see anything. And then you see light again and it'd go back and forth, back and forth. And then he'd fling balls at you and expect you to touch it in the most perfect, serene way, thread it into the back of the net. And he's laughing. He's just laughing at us, making mistakes, tumbling over ourselves, tripping over our own feet. And it was just like, I mean, it really, surprisingly, it did help. You know, like it helped with reaction time, and it helped a lot with our touch. It helped with being able to see without being able to see. And like all of the things that he would do, like they eventually worked. But in the moment, we were always like, this doesn't always make a whole lot of sense. But he always had a method to his madness, you know. He's a really, really, really very smart guy. So yeah.
Right. Going into Vanderbilt, they won the conference last year and beating them. Can you talk about that game and, you know, winning that game? And that was an extremely good game as far as to watch.
I'm literally getting chills just thinking about that game right now. So that was like it really just kind of showed what the squad was capable of, type of thing. You know, it was very much symbolic. But you know, it's not like we went into the game like, oh great, here we go, we're gonna get our butts kicked, like that kind of thing. You know, like we're Gators, we're gonna go in with the utmost confidence, whether other people think we should or not. Right. You know, the goal, I think it was Maddie Elwell, I want to say that for Vanderbilt was the one that scored an absolute worldie. An unbelievable goal, you know. And I remember, you know, I was like, you know, I had no doubts whatsoever. And, you know, in the past, we've had this trend of like pulling stuff from literally out of thin air and just being able to do some crazy, crazy stuff. Same thing happened when we played Kentucky 2 years ago, when it was like
the 5 to 6 to 5 game, whatever the
4 by the end of it, 9 goals in a collegiate soccer match. Like what? That's unheard of. So it's like stuff like that, whereas like, and honestly, that might have also been a little bit of my fuel personally, like going through that Kentucky game and just being able to see what like the program itself was capable of, and knowing that we could do that. It was like, we're fine. I'm not worried at all. And then we scored in the last like 2 minutes. I dropped to my knees. I would like there was a moment towards the end, like I think it was the last 5 minutes, and I was almost in tears. I was like, this is the end of my collegiate career. Like this is it, type of thing. And we had one last go round. Jules Liskalskis put the ball at my feet, and I swear to God, I just closed my eyes and kicked the living crap out of the ball, hoping that it would go into the box somewhere. It found a head and went into the back of the net. I dropped to my knees because I was like, we are still going. And then it came down to PKs, and you know, it's all about finesse by then, and we've got that on lock. So it was a surreal experience, to say the least. It was really, really just really great.
Yeah, I mean, I know the next game against Tennessee, and I feel like even to go backwards, after the LSU game, and I know LSU wasn't really that good last year, but after winning that game, and I believe you scored in that game. I could be wrong on that, but I know you scored somewhere around that game. But anyways, regardless of that, I think that was kind of like a turning point to go into the SEC tournament. I think you played maybe one more game, or that was going into that Vanderbilt game. I forget off the top of my head, but and then playing Tennessee, obviously they were one of the top teams in the conference. I mean, I think they only lost 1 or 2 games the whole year last year. And then, you know, that was obviously a tough game, 5-2. You know, going into that game after such an amazing, you know, overtime game against Vanderbilt, you know, how did you guys prepare for that? Did you feel like you could really go out and beat Tennessee? And I know everybody goes into a game saying you want to win the game, but they were amazing too. So what was your take on that game? Jeez.
Bitter taste in my mouth about that game for sure. Mainly because, like it was tied 2-2 at one point, like
Right, correct.
we tied it up 2-2. And like I said, we have a trend of being able to do some crazy stuff that nobody can explain, but it's just like, that's just how we are type of thing. We'll work hard and we'll do everything we can to put the ball in the back of the net.
Right.
And we tied it up 2-2 at one point, and then, some questionable tactical decisions were made. And then from there, it was not great. So, I mean, it is what it is type of thing. It's in the past. But
Yeah.
there were maybe not some great decisions made on that.
Teetering the line. I hear you.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. It's what's in the past is the past. We'll move on though. I want to get into these audience questions. Obviously a new coach coming in from Embry-Riddle, Samantha, and I hope I don't screw up her name like I was screwing up your name. I think it's Bone. Am I right? Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take your word for it. If I screw up, we'll blame it on you.
All right. Fair enough.
Okay. So it's Samantha Bone. Obviously, she has pretty good tentacles in the Gators soccer community, being friends with Danielle, Becky in general. Regardless of that, what have you heard from the girls that you're friends with about this new coach? Obviously, she hasn't been there for that long, maybe about a month-ish, if that.
Yeah. From what I gather, I think she's going to be a better fit for what I think we were first expecting when getting a new coach. Like you said earlier, it's always great to see female head coaches in those leadership positions type of thing and getting that representation. Also, I mean, really, she reminds me a lot of Becky. Just like I obviously, like, I haven't had any conversation with her, like I graduated, I'm out type of thing. But I follow her on Twitter and that kind of thing. And, she reminds me a lot of Becky. And from what I can gather from the girls is like her philosophies very much match up with kind of the idea of what we were expecting. I read the article that Florida did on her, like she's known for not having very many people leave her programs. She kind of, she establishes or cultivates an environment that players enjoy, that players can flourish in, whether that's on the field, off the field, whatever, So I think she's going to be a really, really great fit for the program. And I'm really excited to see what happens in the fall for them.
What are you seeing as far as the girls that are already in the program that are sticking around for this new coaching change in this new season? You think it's going to be, fairly good team because the camaraderie and there are a lot of women that are staying inside the program?
I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Yes.
Okay.
I think, I mean, even last year, regardless of the women, not a woman type of thing, we were still excited about, like getting a new coach, getting to see what he could bring to the table type of thing. I mean, our biggest issue last year was there was just a huge disconnect between coaching philosophy and player philosophy. And, it didn't click. So I think for this year, I think we're, like I said, we're a little bit more aligned. And I think it's gonna take some rebuilding, obviously. Like having a new coach, like you've got to be like, it's a different coach. She's not gonna be just like Becky. She's not gonna be like anybody that we've had before,
Right.
And I mean, if I know anything about the Gators soccer program being there for 6 years, they're gonna give her a chance type of thing. It's not gonna be like, oh well, she's not Becky Burley, like that kind of thing. Like it's very much like I think it's going to be really, really good. Whether the wins show, obviously those are important. But I think overall, like the experience itself and being able to make the most of that experience really comes from the top and then works its way down. And I think Sam will do a really good job of creating the best experience for those girls. And I'm really excited.
So Kit, let's end with this. Obviously you talked about after you weren't even going to play soccer, we'll just say. So you, speaking about that, going and, working on a ranch and stuff, totally, totally different thing than your
With
soccer
a master's degree. My parents were not thrilled, that's for sure.
Okay. Well, you're back in business with, what you love and enjoy now. So with that said, obviously, eventually soccer will come to an end. Maybe not this year, next year, maybe not 6 or 7 years down the road, but eventually. What would you want to do with your life after soccer ends? Are you thinking about that, or is that too far, in the future?
It is in my head right now. I think just the way that the women's game is evolving, and knowing my own skill set and what I could potentially bring to a table. Like I have the I feel as though I could potentially make this into a career. And so like right now, that's kind of where my mind is set. I love the game. I still love the game, and I'm going to keep playing it until I don't anymore. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Which is personally just something that like I've been able to work through and that kind of thing over the last year. So I'm excited about the opportunities. And we'll see what happens from there. If I could see myself going back to school. I could also see myself packing everything up, moving out to Utah, and working on a ranch for the rest of my life. We don't know what'll happen. I'm very much the kind of person that's I plan accordingly, but I'm also the kind of person that I'm going to say yes to more opportunities than not. I don't really necessarily have any reservations in the sense of where a yes can take me. So yeah.
Hey, I give you kudos for moving to a different country, not knowing the language. I know you knew Sarah, but regardless of that, it still is a huge, change to move from Florida to Finland. So, I mean, I give you credit for doing that. That's really impressive. I couldn't do that. So I do respect that. As we end the interview, where can people follow you on social media? I know you said the games are in Finnish, so most people can't really understand or watch that stuff, but is there any way people can follow you? I know you have a Twitter and you can speak about that, but anywhere else too?
Yeah, I have an Instagram. I think Instagram is the platform that I mainly use.
Okay.
My handle is K Loferski. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to follow All United too, that's always great as well. Their handle, I think, is just All United. So yeah.
Right. Kit Loferski, again, former Gators player. And definitely check her out on those social media networks. Kit, thanks so much for coming on and taking time out of your busy schedule and speak with us today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you too, Rob. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
All right.